So hi everyone, welcome to our information session for the Life Sciences Career Expo, or LSCE for short. We're so excited to host this fantastic conference, and we are excited to share with you today what it's all about. So for just like we introduced ourselves earlier, we are Dr. Nana Lee, I'm Ala, and Jenna, and we are today's hosts for the information session. So for today, we will cover what the LSCE is all about, introduce Whova, the virtual conference platform, give you an overview of the different sessions that will be offered throughout the event, and finally give you tips on what to do before, during, and after the conference in order to maximize your benefit from attending. So in collaboration with the Life Sciences Career Development Society, the University of Toronto, and the Canadian Society for Molecular Biosciences, the LSCE is a multi-day national virtual careers conference that is largely sponsored by CIHR. It's going to be held in May over the course of 6 days in the afternoon over the span of 3 weeks. And it's designed to bring together life sciences trainees with a variety of stakeholders who share a common interest in educating the next generation of trainees about diverse career options. So in addition to Nana, Jenna, myself, the LSCE committee is comprised of a number of profs from the University of Toronto and student reps. And none of this would be possible without the support of our sponsors and partners highlighted here on the slide. To host our event, we will be using Whova, which is a virtual conference platform, and this was selected because of its interactive features. As you see here on the main page of the platform, there are a number of tabs on the left side where you can click and navigate the different features of the conference. One thing I wanted to highlight is the community board, which is a fantastic way for you to chat and network with conference attendees at any point during the event. We hope that you can use that to your own benefit. When you are provided access to the platform in the upcoming weeks, we recommend that you familiarize yourself with the tools on the platform. Whova is extremely user-friendly, and one thing I wanted to again highlight is the agenda tab, which is probably the more important features highlighted here. And here you can see the different sessions and the speakers. And a cool feature is that you can curate your own agenda by clicking the Add to my agenda button, and this here can customize your agenda for the conference. It's also integrated with Zoom, so all of the sessions will be accessible through your agenda. As for next steps, if you haven't registered for the event, be sure to take advantage of the early bird discount on our website. And in a few weeks, we will be sending out a link to all registrants to set up their Whova profile. So this is where you can include a description of yourself, include your interest and a headshot. And this could help you when you're networking with attendees to make it a more engaging and interactive experience. Once your profile is set up, feel free to navigate through the platform as we mentioned and add sessions to your own personalized agenda as we're continuously to update it with new sessions, speakers, and companies. Now, Jenna will talk more in depth about the sessions that are going to be offered at the Expo.
Great, thanks, Ala. So as Ala mentioned, we're hosting a number of exciting sessions through LSCE. I'll introduce you to each of these in more detail and provide you with some tips on what you can do to maximize what you'll get out of the conference. And just to note, detailed descriptions of all of these sessions can be found on our website at lsce.ca. So first, we've organized a number of keynote panels and interactive discussions that will be led by leaders in industry and academia. These topics include AI and the future of health research and work, educating the next generation of researchers, transitioning successfully from school to work, and lastly, leadership with a purpose. All the attendees will have the ability to ask questions through these moderated panels, and a full list of panelists and moderators with their bios are on our website. So another unique session that we're offering is the company spotlights. So these are short presentations by company representatives who will go over a short introduction to their industry, introduce their company and a day in the life, and outline what roles are available for life sciences trainees, as well as how to apply for these specific roles. So we know that the range and interests of life sciences trainees are extremely broad. So to support these interests, we've recruited a broad range of companies to participate in this event. So you can see here that we have pharmaceutical companies like BMS, we have investment bank firms like Bloom Burton, as well as consulting firms such as Shift Health and a lot more. And all of these companies will be uploaded and updated onto our website as they register, as well as through the Whova platform. So for the vast majority of life sciences trainees, we'll have a number of companies that will align with your interests and hopefully support you in your career journey. Next would be informational interviews. So these are an exciting option for trainees who want to chat one-on-one with a company representative about a specific industry or company. So to be considered for the informational interviews, when you register on lsce.ca, you can select that you're interested, and you'll also upload your one-page business resume. And at the end of this presentation, Nana will actually walk you through how to create this one-page resume, since it's different from an academic CV. So after we've collected your resumes, when you register, we'll circulate this resume book to participating companies. They will then select trainees who they're interested in speaking with, and we'll notify the trainee, and you can either accept or decline this invitation. Some tips to prepare for the informational interview if you're successful in being selected would be to prepare a brief intro about yourself. So this is very similar to an elevator pitch, so highlighting some key facts about yourself and about your research, as well as look into the company ahead of time. Bring a list of questions to ask about the roles available, and make sure to follow up on LinkedIn or email within 24 hours of your coffee chat. We're also hosting a number of professional skills workshops. So throughout the expo, these will cover a range of topics such as articulating your transferable skills, building a career in science communication, as well as starting out in academia for those of you who are interested in remaining in academia and going that route. So these spots for the workshops are limited, and they will be filled on a first come, first serve for the day that the workshop is being hosted. And as well, the bios and descriptions of these workshops can be found on our website. We didn't want to take time to go through them, but there are detailed descriptions of takeaways and descriptions of what the workshop layout will look like. So some tips for these workshops would be to set some personal development goals before attending these workshops for what you want to get out of them. We suggest that you actively participate and ask insightful questions, and at the end of the workshop, reflect on the lessons learned and compile your notes into one place. We will also be hosting professional career panels. So these are engaging sessions that have been designed to highlight career journeys of professionals in a number of industries. We have panels on academia and beyond. We also have panels on the public sector. So this includes government and nonprofit industry experts, also biotech, pharma, and research, and lastly, the private sector. So industry professionals from consulting, investment banking, and venture capital firms. And they'll really focus on what they did to get to this point in their career and give advice to the trainees on what they can do to break into these industries. We are also hosting job simulations. So these are 2-day workshops led by industry professionals designed to showcase what a job in this field might look like. We have 3 themes. So the first is medical affairs, the second is investment banking and consulting, and the third is scientific communications. And these are all hosted by industry experts that have curated these workshops or simulations specifically for LSCE. And to maximize your learning for the job sims, we suggest that you choose one of the topics that best match with your career interests. We also suggest that you complete the assignment that will most likely be assigned at the end of day 1 and taken up on day 2 to maximize the discussions that are held on the second day. And lastly, we suggest that you actively participate in the breakout rooms and group discussions in order to learn from others that are also participating. And another exciting session is the virtual company booths. So participating companies, similar to the companies that I showed for the job spotlights, will have a booth that will have a live company representative that's available to chat with you at their booth. So these booths may also have a video for the company to introduce who the company is. They may also have some job postings and descriptions that you can download and apply for. And some tips for the company booths would be to look at the companies and ask questions specifically about the roles available and the interview process. We recommend that you also have your resume available just in case the company rep asks for it, and to follow up with them on LinkedIn or email after you've chatted with them to build your foundation and your network. I will now hand you off to Nana, who will introduce the 3-minute thesis competition, as well as go through some tips on what to do before, after, or before, during, and after the expo.
Thank you, Jenna. I think we have a question. Somebody just raised their hand. Kevin, could you see who that was? Or do we have a question in the Q&A?
We do have a question in the Q&A. Do you want me to read the question?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the question is, when did you say the workshop descriptions and signups would be available? The day off?
So I can take this. The workshop descriptions are already available on our website, which is lsce.ca. And since we didn't have a sign up period, they're open to everyone, but they'll fill up when the day of the workshop. So when you click on the session, then you can join the workshop. And then if a certain threshold is met, then we would route you to the concurrent sessions that are also happening, which might be other workshops or the career panels. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thanks, Jenna. The other question was, where is this recording going to be made available? It's going to be made available on our website, correct? On LSCE. Kevin?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you missed part of it or we had to leave, then it's going to be on the website. So this next section is we're going to be having is a 3MT competition. For those of you that are not familiar with it, it's a 3-minute thesis competition. So it's essentially, it's distilling your 50,000 or 90,000 word thesis down into 3 minutes for the general audience. And this competition has been around Canada for several years. But why are we doing this? People might ask, why are we doing this at a job expo? Well, I run a professional development course, and many of the alumni that have graduated from there have said that the exercise that we do in class, which is perfecting the 3-minute thesis, was very essential in obtaining their job. So I had some students come in and say, oh, it was great I did this because that was actually one of my job interview questions. You know, tell us about your research to our business team, and they have no idea what CRISPR-Cas9 is in about a minute or two. Right? So this will really help you prepare for the job going forward, no matter if it's an academic job or a non-academic position, because it helps you really distill your thesis into an accessible information. So we really encourage you to try a 3-minute thesis, and you can submit for a chance to win up to $500 if you win. But how do you do that? The rules are, step 1, they're on the website. You need to have 1 static PowerPoint slide, so no animations. 3 minutes is a maximum. So in an official competition, and even here, if you exceed 3 minutes, you'll be disqualified. No additional electronic media or props, and the information instructions are on the website, but you record on Zoom with your camera on in the top right corner, and that's how you upload your file. We have some questions, Kevin. Can you read what they are?
Yes, for sure. So the question is, will there be a recordings for this workshop? Well, we already answered that. So I'll go move on to the next one. Sorry, the next
I
question
think they might mean for the workshops that are being hosted throughout the conference, not just the information session.
Okay, Nana, would you like to take this, or Jenna?
What was the question?
So
Would
the
there
workshops.
be recordings for the workshops?
Oh, the recordings for the workshops. I have no idea. What? I don't know.
That's a great question. We will have to go ask the facilitators of the workshops if they're comfortable with that. And we will post on our website if the recordings are made available.
Now, having said that, a workshop is not very good for a recording, right? A workshop is you're getting in there, it's an active learning exercise, there are going to be interactive breakout rooms, and it wouldn't make sense for you to just view that, right? So I wouldn't even encourage you to even see if that's possible. If you want to belong to a workshop, you should definitely participate in one. And we actually had the deadline for the 3MT submission. All this information is on our website. Okay.
Yeah, and we have 2 more questions.
Yes,
so
you
one,
don't. Yeah, I got that question. So the postdoctoral fellow, you can present on anything scientific. It doesn't have to be the project you're working on. It could be anything that you have an interest of, something you want to talk about, but it has to be a science project. Okay, Adriana, you had a question. Oh, that was it. That was it. Okay, good. Because I'm seeing multiple things here. All right. So step 2 is you want to upload your 3MT onto the 3MT board through the Whova app. You will see that. And then your submissions will be judged by an independent panel. They're not part of U of T. Well, some members maybe, but is a cross-country independent panel from CSMB. And then eligible 3MT presentations will be available for all attendees to view throughout the expo. And then we'll also have People Choice Awards as well. So there's a chance for you to vote on each other's. The top 10 submissions will have a chance to present live on Wednesday, May 19th in front of all of our attendees and anyone else that wants to attend that session. Okay, so the tips, you want to watch a 3MT finalist videos online. So there's tons out there on YouTube. Attend a workshop to effectively plan your presentation. Receive some feedback from your peers. Somebody not in your lab should be able to understand. Actually, your 15-year-old nephew should be able to understand what you're talking about. So to the general audience, it's grade 10 high school. That is what you're catering to. So grade 10 high school, they know DNA, they know cell, they know RNA, but they're not going to know the dynamics of what CRISPR-Cas9 does. Right? Some may, but generally that's what you're going for. And then read the rubrics on the website to know how your presentation will be judged. Right?
Nana, maybe we can pause here for a bit because there are a couple more questions coming up.
Go ahead.
So the first one is, how early should we join the workshop? We want to secure our spot and not get rerouted to another workshop.
As early as possible. It's first come, first serve. Okay, next question.
Okay. So the next question is, when we complete the workshop, would there be something like a completion status that we will receive?
You will not be receiving any certificates if that's what you're saying. You are here to develop your skills. You're here to network with people, but there's no diploma or certificate or a letter or anything like that.
Okay, so the next one is it possible to re-upload the resume? So they already uploaded a resume and they wonder if this is possible.
Oh, they've already uploaded the resume. Now you want to have a rewritten resume? Does that work, Jenna, logistically? How would they do that? Do they have to?
We can evaluate it on a case-by-case basis, just because that would be a lot of work if we did have a lot of resubmissions. So send us an email at contact@lsce.ca and we can chat with you how to best facilitate this.
Great, thank you. All right, next slide, please. Unless we have another question, Kevin? We're good?
We actually have a few more, but I think most of them can be answered via text.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Just to let everyone know, this session will end at 5 because some people have other commitments. However, I will stay on, the rest of the committee will stay on to answer every question that people have. I don't want people to go away without your answers, your questions being unanswered. All right, so we're here. The 3MT competition. So here is the page that you will see, and if you view in the bottom part, Jenna has uploaded her file. So this is what it's going to look like. They'll see your name, your file over here, and then to view that 3MT, you click on View Pitch, and then so you as attendees can view that, and then throughout the expo, you can vote as well for the people's choice. Okay, and this is a snapshot into the Whova platform that we're talking about. Next slide. So what should you do before the LSC in May? So you're going to prepare your resume, which I'll go through. You want to update, create your LinkedIn profile, because anyone attending this conference, any employer, any potential mentor, they're going to be looking at your LinkedIn profile. And I will give you some samples of some good ones later on. Register for the LSCE. Explore potential career options. So instead of coming in cold, you want to know, even go through the agenda and the program and say, oh, who's coming, and figure out what those careers are, and maybe that might pique your interest. And if you say, oh, there's somebody from science policy, they'll be attending, I'm going to go research in that and figure out if I want to talk to them or not. Right? You don't want to come not being informed on all the careers out there. You want to have specific, really good questions because you've researched what that career is. And then you want to create your profile on the Whova platform. So some tips: take a look at the different sessions being offered and plan your personalized agenda in advance. You want to do this all in advance so you know what you're in for that day. Practice your presentation elevator pitch for when networking with professional attendees and other trainees. Right? So, and I'll just give a little point here is if they may ask you, tell me about yourself. That's usually the first question they ask. And this is not really the time where you say, oh, I like to go snowboarding and I like to bake cookies, right? You want to present yourself in a way where you're talking about what you're currently doing with your research, what you've done in the past, and where you hope to go. Okay, so what you're currently doing, what you've done in the past, and where you hope to go in like 3 sentences. So then people know why you're there and what sort of opportunities you're looking for. So practice that. Next slide, please. Okay, so how do we register for this conference? You go to the website, there's a registration button. Right? You just follow the instructions. It's pretty straightforward. So now this is the topic of how do you convert your CV that you've been used to for most of your academic career into a resume? And can people write in the chat, what's the difference between a CV and a resume, just to see how people are in their knowledge of these two documents? The difference between a CV and a resume. Resume is a snapshot, CV is everything. Yeah. CV includes personal skills, is a full copy. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, so the CV can be as long as you want it to be. Okay. And a resume, yes, it should be 1 page for 10 years of experience. So most of you, if you're finishing up your PhD, maybe you had an intermission break between a master's and a PhD, or a 1-year break, you're probably mostly all 1-page resumes. And this snapshot kind of thing, what you want to be doing is providing a snapshot, but really, really talking about the impact you've made. So what we're used to in academia is the CV of just stating everything you've ever done. Okay, served on this committee, you TA'd this course, you did research on your PhD, and it's just a bullet point of action items and just the title of the student group that you're involved with, treasurer for BGSU, or vice president of whatever group. But what a resume does is it tells stories. So even though it's a snapshot, it's a rich snapshot. So what does that mean? So you want to use the CAR method on your resume. What does a CAR have to do with the resume? So CAR stands for context, or challenge. So the first part is, what was the context? Why did you do this thing? Action is, what steps did you take to meet that challenge? And result, what was the result or the impact of your actions? And yes, a master's student would benefit from this expo. It's not just for PhDs and postdocs. Everyone is welcome. You can be an undergraduate. You can be a high school. Well, I don't know about high school. You can be undergraduate and you can still attend. Okay. So here's some examples of your CAR statements. So this first one is to map a disease susceptibility gene. Right? So you gotta have to take a step back of your thesis or whatever project you're working on and figure out, what is the big picture? Why are you doing the research? So that's the challenge of the context for this particular example, the first one. The second part is, well, then what did you do to address that challenge? So it's in green. The action led the linkage to equilibrium analysis of 380 polymorphic markers in 200 samples. And so that's just a overarching theme or overarching statement of what you did, although that included probably 18 months of work. Right? And then what was the result that came out of all these actions? Resulting in the chromosomal localization of the mutational region. So this work was probably a year's worth of work, but now you have made a summary of the key story behind why you did it, the action you took, and the results that came out of it. Here's another example. This is more of what students are used to as extracurricular. To engage youth in their own advocacy, that was a challenge. Okay, so a student said, I really want to help youth to engage in their own advocacy. Well, what was the action that this student took? They developed and presented a TED U of T talk on developing federal policies. They did the talk. Then after the talk, what was the result that came out of it? Resulting in 5 student groups to be inspired to start their own advocacy programs. So you can see how these CAR statements are very different than just saying, gave U of T talk or gave a TED talk, right? Mapped a disease gene. It really tells the story of why you did it and what was the result that came out of it. And these CAR statements are going to be very specific for whatever project you're working on, but also the audience you're choosing. So let's say you're writing a resume to Bloomberg & Company, which is an investment firm company. The CAR statements you write there are going to be very different than if you apply to, say, Blue Rock, which is an R&D company. Blue Rock is going to be mostly scientific research CAR statements. And then Bloomberg, you're going to be talking about your experience in leadership, experience in any business, GMCA, those type of experiences. Right? And in your scientific research, you're going to be talking about your leadership skills, your teamwork skills, the way you can write grants, things like that. So if you know that you're interested specifically in a certain industry, that's how you want to tailor your resume. So I'm going to show you an example. If you can stop sharing your screen and I'll share mine. Oh, it's Dr. Reitmeyer, welcome. Nice to see you. All right, Jenna, can you see that? Thumbs up?
Yep, that's great.
Okay, so if everyone can see, this is a one-page resume, and this is just a template. You don't have to copy it. It's just a suggestion. Your name goes on top, big and bold. It should be a larger font than the rest of the document. You have your email address, your phone number, and your LinkedIn URL. That's all you really need up there. And then under that, for this Career Expo, you may not, this objective is going to be very different, but if you're applying for a real job, it's very specific to that company. Okay, so for example, this person is applying to company X. What are they writing? Offering 5 years of PhD experience, communication and leadership skills to the position of application scientist at company X to help strengthen the R&D mission of utilizing nanoparticles in cancer immunotherapy for product ABC. So it's very specific, and it's not, I see this a lot, seeking a job in biotech sector. That's too generic and it doesn't do anything for you. You want to be very specific on what you are bringing to company X. Any questions thus far? I'll just pause for a moment there. I see It's lighting up orange. Okay, all right, Jenna's got it. All right, so then you're gonna scroll down, and the first thing you're gonna have is experience, okay? So experience, the first thing probably on top is either a PhD researcher, master's researcher, whatever your current academic position is, the department, you're gonna write your PI's name and a URL link to your PI. So Dr. Reitmeyer's lab, then you have a URL to his lab. And then under your PhD or your master's or whatever degree you're working on, or postdoctoral fellow, you're going to have several CAR statements. And it depends what year you are on the number of CAR statements you're going to have, and also the type of projects you're going to differ, right? So if you're, let's say, finishing up your PhD, or let's say you are starting your postdoc, you'll probably have about 3 to 5 CAR statements under your PhD work. If you're a master's student, you may have about 2 to 3 CAR statements. So it's roughly about 1 CAR per publication, roughly. It could be more than that. Then also under experience are things like if you're a teaching assistant. And so what I have here is just an example of a CAR statement of a teaching assistant. To strengthen communication skills in 24th year students, facilitated 3 MT presentations with peer and TA feedback over 12 hours, resulting in all 20 students reporting the experience was very helpful in their professional development. So you can see how these it's not just TA'd Biochem 310. You have to talk about the story. What makes you different than the other TA that TA'd the similar course? So same thing, if you TA'd several courses, you may have more than 1 CAR statement. Also under experience, if there's any experience that contributes to developing those core competency skills that's in any career that you're going for, you want to include that. Right? So any student groups, vice president of student council, lead organizer on the LSCE committee for Jenna and Ella, right? Those sort of things, they all go in here. And then you're going to be writing CAR statements for these. And I also added something else in here because people ask where I put extracurriculars that I've made an impact in. If you're a coach for Little League Baseball, and for this person it was about 6 years, it's in there because now you've shown you can work on a team, you can work with people, you can have conflict management skills, all these things that are important in a biotech company. It's not just about can you pipette, right? It's about can you work on a team? Do you know what emotional intelligence is? Can you lead a group? So this can be anything from sports to music to anything that you have found meaningful in your life and you have contributed in any way, even as a leader, but even as a participant, it goes in here. The other question I get a lot is, well, how far do I go back? You want to go back as far as impactful that activity was. So for example, I had somebody that started their own compost program in their high school because their high school didn't have one, and it's been implemented since then. That's a huge impact. So that still stays in there. I had someone that started a nonprofit when they were 15, still stays in there. If you won the gold Olympic medal when you were 14, it will stay on your resume for the rest of your life, right? So think about the impact you've made and not necessarily just, well, how far ago was that? If you started something new and you initiated it and it's still going today, then it goes in there. And you're going to have a section on education, okay? And it's just 1 line per degree. And this is where you're going to put in things that you may have taken or done that's not traditionally considered a diploma. So for example, this student was applying for a business job. So then she put in the mini MBA, which was part of the graduate management consulting group. It's not part of a thesis, it's not part of a diploma, but it's relevant to that particular industry. So that's why she put it here. She also wrote graduate professional development because then the employers know that she is also into enhancing her core competency skills. So anything in here, if you took a course on, say, quality assurance or leadership, and that's pertinent to the job you're applying for, that's where you're going to write that. Another section here that is missing is pertinent skills. So that can go either above or below education. And pertinent skills is anything technical, and you just list it. So if they're a biotech company and they're R&D and they want you to be able to do flow cytometry and LE spots, then you just list that, right? So pertinent skills, and under that, you can write flow cytometry, ELISA, comma, bacterial mutagenesis, comma, like all these things that are for the technical skills, you just comma, 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 and you may have 2 or 3 lines of pertinent skills. And then you have a separate section of selected awards and publications. Okay, so this is where you have basically 1 line for each of these items. So if you have a paper and you want to talk about how you have that paper, you just have that 1 line. And how do you do that? You're going to write your name. If you were the first author, then you write your name, and in parentheses you write 1, so people know you're the first author, and then ... et al. And then you include in the hyperlink to that journal article. So if people want to see the exact article, they can just do that. Okay, so it's just 1 line per paper. Any questions on a 1-page resume?
Nana, there are some questions in the chat, so I can read them out to you, and
Sure.
maybe you can take a stab at them.
Sure.
So Chris says that he has about a year's worth of consulting experience with student consulting groups. And would it be advisable to list these experiences above his education on the resume? So where on the resume?
So if you were involved with management consulting groups and you went out there and you helped, say, a nonprofit organization, or you did some actual consulting, then would go under experience. So under, so if you're a researcher, under your PhD research, then you're going to have your GMCA or whatever that group is called, and then your experience, and write it as a CAR statement. Okay. But if your experience at this GMCA group was you went to, you took a mini MBA, like you just took training, and that goes under the education section for special courses. I have a story where a student, she wrote that she was taking courses on EQ, and that's what actually got her the interview, because someone said, wow, there's a grad student that knows about emotional intelligence. So that was under her education section. Next question.
So another consulting related question. So this person has worked at 2 or volunteered for 2 engagements through some pro bono consulting organizations. Should they include both, or should they list some other diverse experiences like case competitions and leadership roles if their space is limited?
Yeah, so you have limited space. However, if you word your CAR statements correctly, you can basically fit your entire life in that space. So I've seen postdocs that had 5 years postdoc experience and some management consulting experience, put it in that 1 piece of paper. And if you can communicate your life on that 1 piece of paper, it tells the employer that you can communicate succinctly and effectively. So they're actually using your resume as a tool to see if you can do that. So if you have all these experiences in management consulting or consulting, you want to be able to write that CAR statement distilled down into maybe 1 or 2 CARs so that it showcases everything that you're talking about, but it is also specific. So it's not easy to write these CAR statements. If everyone does a search on what does a CAR have to do with a resume, there's a document that'll go through that. And also, I'll share another resource. You can ask the next question, Dana, while I look for this resource.
Can you just repeat where the pertinent skills should go on the resume?
Probably right above your education.
And will this resume template be available after the info session?
Well, we could post it somewhere. I don't know where it would go. We'll have to, we'll get back to you on that one. Let me just find a really good resource, so people can go to that. And while I'm doing that, Reinhardt, you want to introduce yourself and add your 2 pennies worth, your wise wisdom?
Yeah, hi everybody for joining in. So I'm Reinhardt Reitmeyer. I'm the Interim Vice Dean Research Innovation at U of T. I'm actually madly typing answers in the Q&A, Nana. So.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Good. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Okay. Sorry about that. All right. So if you go to this YouTube video, it's actually about how to write that resume. The template is there. So that's probably the best resource instead of me sending out this file to everybody. It's just you go there and there'll be a template there. And I don't want you to copy and paste things. It should be your own, right? It should be your own, but you can check out that YouTube video. The other resource that may help everybody. Let me just copy that. Okay, so this is a series of from my videos from the Faculty of Medicine about your cover letter, resume, interviews, like all the stuff that you may need going into this conference, but even beyond that. Right. Are there more questions, Kevin, or is Reinhardt feeling them?
Someone asked about applying for non-technical jobs, so something in business or science communication. Would it be would you include pertinent labs, wet lab skills on your resume?
If you are going strictly for a communications role, let's say CPC healthcare communications, they're only looking for people writing and being editorials. You do not need to write that you know how to do flow cytometry. It's not pertinent to their endeavor, but your CAR statements should tell the story of how you can communicate your science. So you're going to tailor your resume to whatever they're asking for. So the answer is no, you do not have to put your technical skills for that type of job. Any other questions? And next slide, Kevin. So what should you do after the LSCE? Well, number one, complete the post-event feedback survey because that'll help us plan for the next one. And number two, you want to connect on LinkedIn with your speakers and participants. Okay, and so how do you do this? Well, virtually it's a little bit difficult. So I'll just touch on networking virtually because in the poll, we asked that question and some people were not quite sure how to do that. So there are various ways you can do that on the Whova platform. So Jenna showed you in the beginning, there's this community board where you can go and build your own community. So let's say you attended a workshop together. You're going to go there and ask questions of each other. You can make your own community there, right? You want to go in, research all the speakers. And Jenna, do they have the ability to research the participants as well? Can they go see who's attending?
Yep, as you register on Whova, you will be able to see the other attendees that have also registered.
Great. So to do that, you want to research that. And you say, oh, I realized that this student who's the president of GMCA is also going to be there. I want to talk to that person. Or the alumni from our department who's now at Bloomburton, they're going to be there. I really want to speak to that person. So what you can do actually, even before this happens, you can say, I see that you're attending LSCE. I look forward to meeting you at one of your sessions, right? And then after the session, you go to their workshop or the speakers or speakers corner or the booth or whatever activity you're at, and make sure you're asking questions, make sure you're participating, make sure you're being part of the group actively, and then follow up with people. Like with that same day, I just attended your talk or I just attended your workshop. Thank you for this. And this is what I got out of it, and connect with them through LinkedIn. Do not just connect with no message. So I myself, if there's no message, I'm going to forget where I met the person asking for the connection. You're going to have to explain. Right? Thank you for your workshop on medical affairs, Dr. Seat. I learned about A, B, and C. So you want to explain where you met that person. Step 3, After you want to actively dedicate time for professional development, continuing forward, it's not just this one thing. You want to be using the individual development plan if your school uses that. And I'll type that in. Maybe Reinhardt, you can type that in the chat, the link to the individual development plan. You want to be using that to progress your professional development. Get involved to develop your skills and your network. So tips: send a message with your LinkedIn request, reach out to your network to connect you with relevant net professionals, and find groups and associations through your school website. Next slide. Okay, so this is how you register. Some people ask that. Ella, the CIHR, is that the IDP from the CIHR? Okay, a CIHR IDP, individual development plan. So to register, you go to our website and you click on attendee registration. And maybe I'll just show everybody that so you know what it looks like. So if you go to lsce.ca, you will see this front page, and then you'll see the attendee registration. You click on there, but then you'll also see what it's all about, and the program, the agenda, sessions, the companies involved, the info sessions, about the session, and how you can go through all of these. Oh, there you are, Dr. Reitmeyer. There's me, Jenna. So just all the information you need is on the website. So, sponsors and partners. And maybe if we go down to the program itself, that's probably helpful for everybody. This gives you a week by week snapshot of what's happening on week 1 and week 2 and week 3. We thought we would help save your eyes and not put everything on one week, so you won't be Zoom fatigued out. So that's why we scheduled it this way.